televised by Peabody Access TV. Real-time public participation can be addressed to the Peabody School Committee utilizing Zoom virtual meeting software for remote access. The application will allow users to view the meeting and make a comment during public participation. Our meeting is also, minutes are being taken by Leanna Harris, our recording secretary. I'd like to start the meeting with a moment of silence for a young man that has tragically been lost to our community. And I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Vidala to say a few words.
Thank you, Mrs. Carpenter. It's with a heavy heart that I share that our community lost one of our own on Thursday. Far too young, a wonderful, wonderful student, and a big part of the senior class from Peabody High School, graduating senior class of 2021, a big part of our performing arts department, and just an all-around great kid. Nick Delacroce will certainly be missed. Our hearts go out to his family, his father Dana, his mother Rachel, his twin brother Jake, all of the class of 21, and all of their family and friends. Our thoughts and our prayers are with them, and we'd like to have a moment of silence tonight.
Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. And now for the pledge. Thank you. I'd like to start the meeting with a motion for the regular school committee meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call vote.
Mr. Hockman?
Yes.
Mr. Olympio? Yes. Mr. Amico?
Yes.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Arnottis?
Yes.
Thank you. That passes. We're going to move on to approval of bills. Mr. Olympio?
I don't know if I'm on. Okay, I'm on. I'd like to make a motion to approve warrant number 4817 dated July 20th, 2021, in the amount of $31,405.90, subject to audit.
Second.
Thank you. You've heard the motion for warrant 4817. Roll call.
Mr. Hockman?
Yes.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mr. Amico?
Yes.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Arnottis?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve warrant number 4819 dated July 20th, 2021, in the amount of $151,000, $344.95, subject to audit.
Second.
Thank you. You've heard the motion for warrant 4819. Roll call vote.
Mr. Hockman?
Yes.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mr. Amico?
Yes.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Arnottis?
Yes.
Thank you. If the committee doesn't mind, I'd like to take some business out of order and move to the superintendent's report. We have some very special people here tonight that I'd like to get started with. Any objections? No. Being none, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Carpenter. The first item on the superintendent's report is student recognition. Tonight we have graduating senior Haley Lamazny from the class of 2021. Haley is an accomplished student. She's also a very accomplished athlete, and so we take student athletes very seriously, and she embodies the idea of a student athlete. Not only is she going to UMass Lowell next year, she had a great academic career, but she had an incredibly impressive athletic career as well. She scored her 200th point this year as a senior and got it on an assist, which is very unselfish. And Haley could have scored a lot more goals during the lacrosse season this year, but she was very unselfish and had an equal number of assists, which is very impressive. She was a league all-star, which is an incredible accomplishment. But this year, she was also named Northeast Conference Most Valuable Player, which in an incredibly challenging conference and an incredibly talented conference, she rose to the top in that. And not to be outdone, for the first time ever at Peabody High School, we had an All-American. So Haley was named All-American in girls lacrosse this year. It's the first time we've ever had a Peabody High School girls lacrosse player earn that honor, and we wanted to recognize her today and just say congratulations to you and to your family with what an incredible year it's been. Very difficult missing your junior year and being able to come back the way that you guys did. We're very impressed. And I'll open it up to the committee. I'm sure they want to say congratulations as well.
Thank you, Dr. Vidala. Haley, that is amazing. We're so very proud of you. You're representing your city well. I appreciate all of your hard work and dedication. It was a very hard year, so a little bit different, but you still managed to pull through and you really excelled. So with that, congratulations. Would anyone else like to, Mr. Amico?
Just quickly, through the chair, Haley, congratulations. I was able to watch a lot of your games this year. The part that I really enjoyed most, besides your goals, was your leadership. There are some freshmen and sophomores on that team, and you really made them feel like really about being about that team. And again, just your leadership. The goals are great. You're an incredible scorer, but you're a great leader. And good luck at UMass Lowell. You're going to be great.
Thank you. Would you, Mr. Hockman?
Thank you. I'm not, I don't have any authority to do this, but I'll just say Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame. Why don't we just get you in there now? No, Haley, you're a wonderful young woman. I've known you for quite some time, and your family, you have a terrific family who's here to support you and have supported you throughout your academic and athletic career, and your extended family, who is also a bunch of incredible cousins that you have, talented in a lot of ways, academically, leadership, athletically, and so on. You're going to go on to have a great career at Lowell or wherever you wind up in college. And it all stems back to, I think it was a 5th grade center basketball team where there were some great coaches, and I think you went undefeated that year, and that propelled you to the leadership that you, qualities that Mr. Miko talked about, and the greatness that you exhibit on all courts, not just the lacrosse field, but in everything you do. No, in all seriousness, congratulations. It's a wonderful, tremendous accomplishment that may not have sunk in with you yet, but it's an incredible accomplishment, something that doesn't come around all that frequently. So good for you. Congratulations and good luck.
Mrs. Dunn?
Thank you. Congratulations, Haley. I really, truly am so proud of you for everything you've done because of all the parts that go into becoming an All-American. It's not just athletics, it's schoolwork and it's leadership, and it's nice to see you recognized for that. I'm really glad you let me speak after Mr. Hockman, because I'm going to follow up, because I asked the mayor when we were putting up the sign for you, because that's supposed to go with the city limits as far as I know, so people know there's an All-American living here. So congratulations.
Mr. Olympia?
Congratulations, you did Peabody proud, and certainly your family. You know, the one thing that I think holds true is that the goals and the athletic accomplishments sometimes get fuzzy as the years and decades go on, but I think what's going to resonate with your family and your classmates is the character of the type of person you are, and that's something that people will always remember. So I hear nothing but fantastic things about you, and just congratulations. Thank you.
Congratulations, Haley. Enjoy UMass. It's a great school. It's a great system. You know, being MVP and an American All-Star in a normal time is incredibly difficult, but after this year, you know, that's fantastic. So best of luck to you. You come from a great family, and we wish you all the best. Thank you.
I don't want to put you on the spot. Did you have anything you'd like to say? Press the button, and then when it turns red, you just leave it there. Yeah.
I just wanted to say thank you for having me and recognizing my achievements. And I just want to say thank you to my Coach T, my family, my amazing club team, Boston, Massachusetts, and especially my talented teammates that I've been surrounded with this whole time. I really wouldn't have gotten these awards without them, but that's really what I want to say. Thank you.
So true, Haley. It's very humble for you, and to acknowledge your teammates, because it is a team sport. Before we let you go, I'd like to take a little break, because since I'm hearing, you know, Hall of Fame, All-American, I think we all want our picture with you now. So maybe we could take a little 5-minute recess and take some photos? Great, thank you. We'll be right back. Okay, I think we will resume the regular meeting. We're going to continue on with the superintendent's report because we do have somebody else here that we would like to introduce. So Dr. Vidala, if you'd like to go ahead.
Thank you, Mrs. Carpenter. So I'd like to introduce our new Director of Health, Wellness, and Athletics. So today we have Dennis DeRoches with us. We had an incredible pool of candidates for this job. It's very well respected and sought after, but one candidate rose above, and that was Dennis. Dennis has been in the community and in the district for over 20 years. He has been a phys ed teacher, and he's really been a leader in the department. When I came in to the position, I really leaned on Dennis in terms of scheduling the specialists and making sure that they had equitable schedules. He did a lot of work with the curriculum, especially in the K-5 health and wellness curriculum. He's really developed a lot of that already, taking on that leadership role, leading professional development for his colleagues, and then also he's worked as a coach, and he's been a very successful coach. One of his athletes was here today. He's been the girls lacrosse coach and the girls soccer coach for many years, has been very successful in that. And he's just got a great way about him. He's extremely organized. He's very good with the students, very good with families, and I think he's going to bring a lot to the athletic department. I'm really excited to work with Dennis. Lives in town, his boys go to the South School, and we're really excited about the things that he can bring to us and to our athletic program, and just really happy to have him on board. And he's already hit the ground running. He's had a couple meetings scheduled already. So just like to introduce Dennis to the community officially and welcome on board. We're really excited about what's to come.
If you'd like to say a few words, yeah, just press the button and it'll stay red, and then you can speak.
Oh, perfect. All right, first, thank you for having me tonight. I'd like to echo a couple of things that you said earlier about Haley. I was very fortunate to be her coach for the last 4 years. Now, not only, though, in lacrosse, but also soccer. And she's been a stellar student athlete for us in both sports. And some of the things you said, the leadership is unbelievable. She made an extreme impact when she was a freshman, and she just improved as she went through her 4 years here at Peabody High School. And I was extremely fortunate, along with Coach Murphy and the other coaches, to be her coach. And she's performed at a high level since her first day, which made it an easy selection. Now we're talking lacrosse, but she also had a major impact in soccer, where she was also selected team captain. So she was a captain for soccer as well as lacrosse. So her skill set is incredible. So that accomplishment is extremely impressive. We couldn't be more proud of her. UMass Lowell is getting a great athlete, but in my opinion, they're getting a great person, a great leader. So congrats to Haley and her family. Oh, so I also I want to thank you for the opportunity to take on this next role. I know it's a very demanding role, but I've been a teacher and a coach for 20 years. I've coached 2 varsity sports, and I think any role in education is demanding, right? So, I think these jobs that I've had over the years have prepared me for this role, and I'll have to say that I'm very fortunate that within our department, you talk physical education and health, from the elementary level to middle school up to the high school. We have an incredible staff, a veteran staff, where I feel that I'll be learning a lot more from them than they will from me, right? So, but I'm very fortunate to be able to work alongside of them and be there for them, as well as them there for me. And then you look at the athletic side. Again, I mean, you look at the season to season, we have veteran coaches that have been around, that have great accomplishments, and I'm very fortunate to be able to work with them. So, again, I appreciate the role that I'll be headed into, and I look forward to a great year.
Thank you. I want to welcome you here tonight and congratulate you on the appointment of the athletic director. My kids refer to you as Mr. D.
Mr. D.
Yep, so I told them, and they, oh, Mr. D. So congratulations. I know that this board is very passionate about sports and the arts, and we love to help support the program. We love to get updates. We love to go to the games. I think it's something that we're all very passionate about and very involved. I'm excited that your background is something that shows a lot of experience, and you're already well aware of how things are here, and
Yes.
How passionate we are about our sports. And I welcome you, and I will open it up to the board if anybody has any comments before we let Mr. D go. Mrs. Dunn?
Thank you. I'm thrilled, and I told that to Mr. DeRoche tonight, because I've known him for the 20 years he's been in the district. So I'm very, very happy. I know that our departments are in very good hands, and I'm extremely pleased to see this selection. Also, knowing how busy he is, I just added to his list of things he needs to do, because he lived in the Welch School gym for 20 years. So I just told him we're going to need him for input about the improvements being made in the building, especially about the gym. So add that to your agenda. We'll pull you in on some meetings and get your input in that, because, you know, of course, now he's out of that building and we're going to fix it up. So
When I leave, yeah.
that's, but you know what? Now you're the department head, so there you go.
There we go.
We're giving you a new gym for the department. Not a new gym. I didn't mean to say that. It's just going to be fixed up. But
Excellent.
congratulations. And I know the students are really going to be happy about that, too.
Yep, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Mr. Amico?
Thank you, through the chair. Coach D, you have a terrific resume. You're a teacher, so you have that aspect as well. But the one thing that I think you're going to really bring to the table is you're going to be able to talk to 7th and 8th graders, some of which you probably had at the elementary school, and you're going to wear that tie, that Peabody Tanner tie, and you're going to say, come on, come to the high school.
Absolutely.
And that's something that we really take pride in. I think it's an incredible high school. We have so many programs for kids, and our athletics program is terrific. Your lacrosse team and the boys lacrosse team and all the other teams that have really succeeded over the years. So I really think you're going to bring that, and you're going to get us some really good student athletes. So I wish you a lot of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Amico. Mr. Olympio?
Yes. Congratulations. I've heard nothing but fantastic things about you and all you've done for the past 20 years, and really look forward to working with you in the future. I think we have some bright days ahead of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hockman.
Thank you, Coach. Congratulations. As Dr. Vidala said, this was an incredible pool of candidates. I didn't have the pleasure of sitting on the search committee, but I think Mr. Amico did, and I was aware of who applied for this position, and you must be a fantastic person and a highly qualified athletic director to come to the top of this. So congratulations to you. We're looking forward to good things. As I mentioned to you a little bit earlier tonight, and I'll take the segue from Mr. Amico, middle school sports is something that we used to have in Peabody regularly. It kind of went by the wayside a little bit for a variety of reasons. Never any blame, just a variety of reasons. And we kind of got some of it back a few years ago. There were some issues 2 years ago, and then last year was COVID. Something that's extremely important to me, seeing that we get baseball back here, softball back here, I think we still do cross country, but track, soccer and some other sports that we can play in off seasons from the high school, so that it's not occupying all of your time. I mean, your job is hard enough, and speaking of that, if you need support or anything, we're here. This is a very supportive board. We're not putting you on an island to ask you to do this job on your own. If you need something, I see Mr. Arnottis on the other side there, shaking his head in agreement with me. He's the chair of our our Athletics and Wellness Subcommittee, and that it's a valuable resource for you. I suspect you and Mr. Arnottis are going to get to know each other very well if you don't already. And seriously, if you need anything, please let us know. If you're more comfortable going through Dr. Vidala, that's great. If you want to reach out to any of us individually, I'm sure we'll welcome that conversation.
Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Coach D, congratulations, and thank you for taking this on, knowing the size of the role and what is going to come. I'm excited for all of us to work with you here. Mr. Amico and Mr. Hockman have touched on it, but if you've seen kind of any of our recent conversations, we've talked about what this role could be, where we can go with it, the opportunity that's there, from Higgins Sports to, expanding with our college athletes when they leave us. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there. We're happy to work with you in any way. I hope I can be a resource, and we want to make sure that you're as successful as possible so our athletes can be as successful as possible going forward. So let us know what you need, and we're happy to work with you, and congratulations.
I will. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. D. I think we'll let you go home tonight and
right.
enjoy the weather before it
Yes.
rains again, and welcome
All right, thank you
again.
very much, guys. Thank you.
So moving forward in the superintendent's report, would you like to just finish it out, and we'll go on to the update on the CTE program, or would you like me to go back?
Sure. I can move on. Just going to share my screen here. Okay. We always start with our slide of hope. 3 additional items on the superintendent's report is an update on the CTE programs, summer school update, and then just a quick update on the end of the fiscal year 2021, which we'll have another update coming up in the coming months when we finally close that out. So I'd like to begin talking about our CTE programs. We have had this on the agenda for the past few meetings, and I think some of the information that has gotten out maybe in some different order, and maybe not gotten to the public in the way that we would like. So I did prepare a written communication, which is included in the packet for everyone, but I did want to go over the highlights. And I want to begin by really, I can't state enough how much the Peabody Public Schools supports career and technical education. It is really such an integral part. It is such an important part of what we have to offer, both in Peabody and for our residents with our partnership with Essex Tech. And so I just want everyone to know that there are 1,800 high school age students in the city of Peabody. About 1,500 go to Peabody Veterans Memorial High School, and about 300, a little bit more than 300 of our students attend Essex Tech every year. At Peabody High School, we have nearly 400 students that participate in our very own CTE programs. We have 6 programs, and I'll show them again on the next slide, but we have over 400 students that are participating in our programs. Additionally, we have over 300 students that enroll in Essex Tech. So all in all, we have about 700 students in the city of Peabody that participate in career and technical education. That's nearly 40% of our high school population. And we want to work to make sure that our students have access to the very best, and they have access to everything they can. And additionally, we try to explore different options, maybe internships or some things that might not fall under career and technical education, but would be good in terms of students receiving career skills. We're working currently with our water treatment facility to see if we can get some kids a 90-day certification, which would help them be able to get jobs in the community. And that's not a formal CTE program because it's not under the DESE approved programs, but it is something that we've identified as a need in our district, and we continue to work with our community, and we want to make sure that our kids have access to the very best. About 3 years ago, we engaged in a conversation with Essex Tech around an After Dark program. And this After Dark program is something that DESE coined, and it started in Lawrence Public Schools, where students who attended Lawrence Public Schools were able to attend Greater Lawrence Tech at night to get some vocational training at night. And they tried to explore an opportunity for us to have that option for our students. So a few North Shore communities engaged with Essex Tech and said, would this work for our kids? And Beverly, Salem, Gloucester, and Peabody entered into an agreement with Essex Tech to get our kids into some programs maybe that they didn't have an offer for. The first year, we sent 7 students, and it really only worked out for 2 of them. 5 students came back. And this past year, we sent 6, and then 5 students completed it. So we really haven't had the demand that we thought that we would have. So in talking to the kids, the biggest challenge for our students is that they attend, in this program, for example, they attend our classes during their junior and senior year from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. Then they go over to Essex Tech from 11:30 to 2:30, and if they play a sport, they're coming back. And so it really hasn't been the best option for them. So I just want to be clear, we are offering this next year. We do have 3 students who are seniors that will continue to be enrolled in the program. But the students have reported that this option is less desirable than the full-time option at Essex Tech or the full-time option at Peabody Veterans Memorial High School. So we did have a freshman that really inquired about this, and the reason that they're asking to be part of this program is because they did not receive admission to Essex Tech. And so we're working with the kids that want to go to Essex Tech to ensure that they get that transfer. So we had a freshman student this year, for example, who desperately wanted to go to Essex Tech and was not admitted during the 8th grade. So we worked with that family because as a rising sophomore, he wouldn't be eligible for the After Dark program. So we reached out to Essex Tech, and they were able to work with the family, complete the transfer paperwork, and I'm happy to report that that student will be attending Essex Tech as a sophomore in the full-time CTE program. And that's what we really want, is full-time, robust programs for our students. And if we don't have that option, we do have the 3 kids who will be participating in the After Dark program, but I really want to be clear that we want to give our kids the very best that we can. And if this After Dark program isn't working the way that we thought it was going to, we're going to explore other options to make sure that our kids have access to that. So next year, I just want to provide a little overview of what we offer here in Peabody. We offer cosmetology, which will have 44 students next year. Our culinary and baking arts is one of our most popular programs. We'll have 49 students enrolled there next year. Early childhood is probably the most popular program with 54 students enrolled. Our electrical engineering has just really worked with RCN around some of the fiber optic things. Really excited about the work that they're doing. We have 29 students. Our medical assisting program really is a precursor to nursing. We have kids that enroll, they can go into LPN or they can go into a 2-year RN program, and we have several students who are going to 4-year schools to pursue their RN. What was new last year was we started a protective services program. And this is not just criminal justice, but we're really providing an overarching opportunity for our kids. So they could go into any of the protective services. They could go into the police academy. They could go into criminal justice work. They could go into pre-law. They could go into working with the Department of Children and Families. So this is a really important new program that we have. Last year we had 25 students, and I'm excited to say we were expanding that to 40 students next year, and I do think that each year we'll continue to see more and more kids enrolled in this. This is one of our most exciting programs. And then for freshmen, we start with an exploratory, and so kids get a little taste of each one of these. So we have 130 students involved in that. So in total next year we'll have 394 Peabody Veterans Memorial High School students that will be enrolled in our full-time programs, plus those nearly 320 Peabody students that will be attending Essex Tech. So we are fully committed to this, and I know that speaking to the committee would really like us to expand, and I think we're looking to, I've talked to Maria Ferry, who has graciously come in, and she has talked about a succession plan. I do think in the future we would like to pursue a full-time CTE director who can really expand these programs and make sure that we have more options for our kids. So in terms of the next steps, we really want to continue to collaborate with Essex Tech and our families. We want to listen to the families about exactly what they want and what the students want and provide them the best programs that we can. So it's clear that our students want full-time CTE experiences, and what this conversation has done is it's brought to light for our 8th graders and our 9th graders the fact that we want to be able to offer this, and the fact that we can help them if they were not to gain admission, we can help them to do the exploratory here at Peabody High School as freshmen, and then potentially prioritize their seats for the transfer as sophomores if they are looking to do a program that we don't offer, such as automotive or the construction craft labor. One thing that we'd really like to do is identify the potential barriers that exist right now to admissions for our 8th graders. We have noticed that there are some things that the kids are struggling with. Essex Tech's done a really good job of looking at their own admissions policy and how they can do it, and we want to continue to work with them and say, who are these students who aren't getting in from Peabody, and how can we help them get access to the programs that we don't offer? And that's really what we want this partnership to be, is that Essex Tech offers some programs that we don't, and we offer some programs, and we want to make sure that kids who want to do culinary or medical assisting or protective services have the opportunity to come to Peabody Veterans Memorial High School, and kids that don't have the opportunity to attend Essex Tech. So we really want to advocate, especially on our end, to prioritize those seats, those 80 seats a year, to kids that want those programs that we don't offer. And I think that's one of the most important things that we can do. So one thing that I'd like to do is really work with our community members to support additional career and technical education opportunities. And I'd really like to put this out tonight to the committee and to the community at large. Is I'd like to develop a subcommittee that would really explore additional options. I know that Mrs. Dunn has expressed interest, and I know that Mr. Amico has also expressed interest, and Mr. Arnottis as well. But I'd like to try to create a subcommittee and bring Essex Tech to the table, and bring some of our community members, including maybe maybe Local 22 or some of the labor unions, and really say, how can we get our kids involved in these programs, and how can we do so in a way that works for them and works for their needs? So I just wanted to provide that update on CTE, and I know that this is something that the committee is very passionate about, so I did want to open it up and invite some of the members to join the subcommittee and really work to do what we can for what's best for our kids.
Thank you for that update, Dr. Vidala. We will definitely have the mayor put together a subcommittee and an ad hoc committee on that. Would anybody like to comment? Mr. Arnottis.
Well, thank you, Dr. Vidala, for that presentation. I think that was very informative and helpful, as this has been, obviously an ongoing topic for a while now with all of us. And I am more than happy to join that subcommittee. I think I'm sure I'm not the only one in this room who wants to participate in that. And no, I agree. In an ideal world, I think if you have a student in our building who wants to be a laborer, or go into the trades, or be a plumber, or anything along those lines, that opportunity should be afforded to them. And I'm not going to sit here and say I have the answer to that. It was my optimistic view that this program would have helped. In the long run, though, looking at the direction we're going in, I hope that we can be successful and find something that fits that model, that gets us there, because I don't want the 81st kid to be left. And it's great that, we have been able to finagle that student going in, but I don't want us to have to do that in the future. And I know we have obligations with what we can offer here, and I know that's been a long-standing conversation, but I hope going forward that that subcommittee, along with members of our community who I know share the goals that we all do here, that a college education should be equal value to be a trade now. And I think most people see that, actually. Graduating with an apprenticeship at 18 might be better off than having a certain degree in something that, might burden you with debt. So I hope that they're put on the same level, and I hope that we develop that path going forward. And I'm happy to work with anyone and everyone to make that successful. So I'm looking forward to a collaboration with as many people in the city moving that goal forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arnottis. Anybody, Mr. Amico?
Thank you. Through the chair, Dr. Vidala, thank you for bringing this forward. Could you explain quickly just the protective services for, I know it's a newer program, I'm not sure if everyone, I know we know what it is, but just for people out there.
Sure. So Protective Services is our CTE program, and it is broadly based as gives a background on criminal justice, but all facets. So students who go through the Protective Services could go into police work. They could go into pre-law. They could work as a paralegal. They could work in the court system, as a clerk of courts or an assistant clerk of courts. They could work for DCF. It talks a little bit about the role of social workers, the role of court investigators, the role of victims advocates. So it's a really broad program, but it helps students to understand how many different facets there are within the court system, within the criminal justice system, and in speaking to the mayor today, it's very difficult to find police now, but it's also difficult to find those wraparound services and the additional people in our community that work in protective services that support the police work, and it goes hand in hand. So it's a very important program. I'm really excited that we have it, and we're really looking to expand it as we move forward.
Sure. And just one other thing, through the chair to Dr. Vidala, if you do see that, getting back to the After Dark program, if you do see that the enrollment does go up and you need any additional funds from us, from the school committee, please come to us, and this is something that I think we could support in addition to what Essex Tech is doing as well. And the other thing I think you had mentioned, I think the committee, I'd love to be a part of that. I think it's so valuable to get so many people in a room and just and brainstorm and just do what's best for kids that may not want to go to that next level in college and may want to go out into the workforce. And the other thing too is you had mentioned our director, Maria Ferry. She's phenomenal. I think she wants to retire finally, and I think I'd love to have her part of this committee as well, and see if we can possibly find that next director full time, so we can continue this great program that we have for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Amico. Mrs. Dunn?
Thank you, Mrs. Carpenter. Thank you, Dr. Vidala. I appreciated this report because this is what I was looking for with information about what was going on with the After Dark program. Just a couple of things to let people know. Even S6 North Shore does not like the term After Dark. It's used because that's the state term and it's used on the funding, but they also refer to it as the CTE expansion program, or just the expansion program. So I know people were upset about the name. It was because it was a night school, as Dr. Vidala said. I am disappointed because we had such great hopes for this program as far as being able to give more students a vocational experience, because we can't add to the building and we can't build shops at the high school. And this was kind of a middle arrangement that really was helpful to people. And I do think COVID had a great effect on it this past year, because they really weren't able to publicize it more, to get that information out to the students, to let them know about it. I think that was one of the problems, because it really only was in operation for Peabody the year before. One thing I do want you to know is the first year the students were participating from Peabody, Peabody did not have to pay. Essex North Shore had grants to cover that cost. The second year is the year we had to pay, and the total cost was $29,376. So it was basically, it's the Chapter 74 funding, the amount of money that comes into the district for someone in Chapter 74 above and beyond the per pupil figures. That was the cost this past year. The coming year it would be, again, whatever that delta is, but no higher than $5,500 per student. It's a great program because students get their academics and they get CTE. But it is difficult because the students, as Dr. Vidal said, they're between two schools. And that's hard on a student. My thought was we need to do what we can to help the students, and we need to, as you said on the slide, remove barriers to being able to get that education. One of the things you all know I've always advocated for has been expanding our CTE program, and knowing that we were never going to be able to build another shop, I've always pushed to get a class that you can do in a classroom, and that's how we ended up with the protective services, because that can be done in a classroom, but it is considered a CTE program. There are many things that need to be done in order to be able to provide a good vocational experience for Peabody students. One is membership in the Essex North Shore School District. We have that. Two is the program at our comprehensive high school, but we need to expand that program. There isn't enough room in those classes for all the students who want to learn a hands-on subject. So they kind of cobble together their own schedule sometimes when they can't get full-time into culinary or early childhood. There are different things students are doing to try to put together a schedule, but it's still not the same as a CTE schedule. Honestly, other than going out and looking for other additional courses that could be done in a classroom, and again, that was the goal. We had originally started with robotics, computers, expanding the program here at Higgins to bring it up to the high school. We need a new high school. We really need a new high school, and I actually have been advocating with the governor for that, because there's a lot of grant money being put into vocational schools and training. The money also needs to come to comprehensive high schools to allow us to expand our offerings to be able to give additional seats to students so that they can explore vocational courses and get that experience. one of the differences between what we do and what happens at Essex North Shore is that all their decisions are driven by the workforce development information. They look at those figures. We need to do the same here. They have career and college counselors. We need to do that here. And I'm gonna be honest, this is just my opinion, but so you all know, this is what I'm gonna be pushing for. I have been, and now you're hearing it in the condensed version. But the world has changed. People have realized how important everyone is. Every skill is important, whether it's a college skill or a trade skill. And we need to get our students ready for whatever they decide to do when they leave high school. And I think that the way to do that is with a really concerted effort. God bless Dr. Ferry. I think she's come out of retirement 3 times for us. But we do need a full-time director. We need to look at our entire program. I definitely want to be on the committee to explore the additional CTE options because I've been advocating for them. I'll continue to do that. I think we need to do that. PBMHS is a great school, and we offer more subjects than any other high school around, not just CTE. We offer all kinds of subjects. And I want us to still be known for that, and I want us to beef up our program. So I'm glad you put it forward. Again, I feel badly that it didn't work out. I do hope we can do something within the next year to figure this out and put it in place for when the students select courses next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Mr. Olympio?
Thank you, Dr. Vidal, for this presentation. The overview kind of cleared some things up. I mean, at least I feel better that there's going to be a handful of students that at least have the option and will be able to have a choice. So that does make me feel a lot better that we, even though it's a small number, but at least we're not leaving any student behind. Just a couple of questions through you, or maybe through Ms. Dunn, but a couple of things that IT and auto mechanic services, is that part of on anybody's radar? Because to me, IT, and now you go to a dealership, and I mean, it's not just turning a wrench anymore. I mean, you want to see a 60-year-old former mechanic squirm, ask them to fix a new car, and they can't do it. So I'm wondering, is that something that's offered up at Essex Tech? And
Yes, it is. They have a comprehensive one. And we were looking, as we're expanding our programs, to do the IT side,
Right.
the classroom version. We don't have the shops to bring the cars in.
Right.
That they have a great program for that
That's
at
good to know.
Essex North Shore. But we are looking to expand. If the next program that we would bring on at the high school would be an IT program.
okay, that's fantastic. Thank you.
And they start at $80,000 a year when they walk out of that school.
I see the W-2s.
Thank you, Mr. Olympio. Mr. Hockman?
Thank you, Ms. Carpenter. Through you to Dr. Vidal. Doc, thanks for the presentation tonight. I'm glad you cleared the air on some of this stuff. Since it's been a while since our last meeting, so there's been a lot of time for things to fester, and they really have, and social media is not always the greatest place for things. It's, you know, we've worked together for a little over a year now, and it's abundantly clear to me that you hold students in high regard, care about students, care about giving kids opportunities whenever possible, and you bend over backwards to get that done. So thanks again for the presentation, the comprehensiveness of it, and the willingness to work with committee members and stakeholders to ensure that all kids receive every opportunity as you do every day. I do believe that you embody the HOPE, the acronym, and every child, every day that Ms. Murtagh left with us. So continue doing what you're doing, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Vidala, for that information, and I do echo the sentiments of my committee members. The value that is placed on the trades and vocational education is, there is no higher number, you know, I'm a product of it. So I do have a deep respect for the CTE programs and vocational education, and it looks like we're heading in the right direction. And I think the mayor will reach out for the subcommittee and to see who wants to be on it, and we'll move forward from there. So I think we still have 2 more items in the superintendent's report. Then we'll go over to continued business and then hit public participation. So if you wanted to finish your report.
Thank you. So I just have two quick items, and this next one is really just sort of just to put back on the radar and to celebrate a little bit. We had a number of students. We probably tripled our summer programming this year, and I just wanted to highlight some of the things that were going on. We had 169 high school students attend summer credit recovery. 139 of those completed their coursework, so an 82% success rate. The 30 students that didn't finish, I talked to Mr. Magno today, and they started coursework through Edgenuity, and that work is not for naught. I talked to a parent today about it with one of the students who just didn't have enough time and wasn't able to complete her coursework. We're going to work with them in the fall to pick up where they left off and to continue that credit recovery. So any work that they did over the summer will be counted towards their work. So we're really excited about that. But a big number for high school credit recovery, double from what we've had in the past. So we're really excited about that. Our special education extended year program, we did expand that as well. 250 elementary and middle school students are currently attending in person. We have 20 students between the high school and the post-grad program. And additionally, we brought 60 students in to address some of the learning loss via COVID to provide compensatory services and additional support leading into next year. So we were excited about those programs. We also have our English Learner program. And we have 55 students that are receiving in-person instruction that are K-5, and we have 21 students that we're offering remote learning. They're accessing remote learning with our ELL teachers and with some of our translators that we brought on, just to make sure that we continue to keep them engaged throughout the summer. We do have a summer reading program housed at the Carroll School. It's open beyond the Carroll School, but it is just housed there. And we have 58 students attending there, K-5. And then our FKO program is offering enrichment. We have 240 kids, K-5, participating. We split this so it wouldn't burn in one school more than another. So we have some kids at the Higgins and some kids at the Welch. They're getting academics with Peabody teachers. They're getting enrichments from our Young Artists of America, or YAMA, which they also gave some enrichment, you may recall, in the spring through the Peabody Education Foundation. So they were able to get on through Dr. Lord's connection. They were able to get on through the FKO program, and then Project Adventure. The kids go to Beverly and they do the Project Adventure course on Fridays for the kids who are enrolled in FKO, which is a really exciting thing, hands-on out there. So that's exciting. They are accepting volunteers and chaperones if any committee members would like to attend. And then just a little bit of an overview. In terms of health and safety, I know this is a big question in everyone's mind. We did go masks optional, and we did get permission from the health department. Masks optional for staff and students this summer. The vast majority of people have been without masks, and it seems to be going well. Of course, we're going to continue to encourage good hand hygiene, and we're going to monitor student and staff symptoms. Also continuing to talk to Sharon Cameron and making sure that we're on that we're on top of, what the numbers are in the community and how things are going. The CDC, DESE, the Pediatric Association, they'll be putting out some recommendations for the fall, but we did want to put this out in the summer where our numbers are good. Let's start to reintroduce people to an academic environment where they are free to wear masks if they choose, but also free to attend without masks. And it's been successful so far. We'll continue to monitor that, and in the coming months, we'll have a recommendation for the fall. But I think we're all hopeful that this continues the way that we're going. And then just a couple additional things. Peabody Rec has been unbelievable with their programs they're running. They were started off outside, and then as we got better numbers, we've started to engage some of our in-school. We have a basketball camp that's going on at Peabody High School right now in the gym, so we're starting to open that up. Paso Zavante continues their summer program at the South School, and I just wanted to take a minute. A lot of communities really struggled to get people to work this summer, and I will say again, our staff stepped up. Our teachers, our support staff, our nurses, our administrators, we've pretty much tripled the amount of summer program we've had, and we were able to staff it with our people, and FKO was even tapping into some of the Peabody educators as well. So I just want to give a big thank you to all of our educators and our support staff, nurses and administrators for the unbelievable work they've done in our summer school program. So I can pause there if there are any questions or comments about summer programming. or the health and safety.
Mr. Hockman?
Thank you, Ms. Carpenter. Through you to Dr. Vidala. I saw the numbers, and I think it's the first slide had the high school, credit recovery. I had heard, and I don't know if it's accurate, you hear things, but that there were several high school students that, seniors, that needed some credit recovery in order to graduate. Is that, and a fair segment of that were students on IEPs or on special education? Is that, we're providing them every opportunity and resource available in order for them to graduate on time?
Correct.
Okay.
So, and I can give an update on graduation maybe at the next meeting. We had 2 separate sessions, one for seniors and one for kids who were in grades 9, 10, and 11. So that total number 169 is both. So anybody who needed one or more courses were able to take that here. But I will provide an update at the next meeting about the number of kids who are graduating.
Thank you. And you brought it up. I was going to wait till the Education Subcommittee. We're fortunate to have this meeting. We weren't scheduled to meet until August. So it gives us ample opportunity to work towards opening in August. We open at the end of August this year. Based upon where we currently are, it would be my hope that we are fully maskless K to 12 throughout our system. If teachers and staff wish to wear a mask or students wish to wear a mask, certainly that's, whatever makes people most comfortable. But I would hope that we're not going to have any obligation to wear any masks. We should continue with good sanitation, hand washing, providing hand cleanser and things like that. But
That is my hope, and it is why I wanted to put it on this slide here tonight. We want to give people the option. I think one of the big things we've talked about in everything that we've done is giving people the option, allowing them to make the best decision for their families. We will defer to our local medical experts if there is a desire, if there are changes. Right now, I'm very confident that our summer programs are safe and healthy with kids without masks on. If they choose to do that, and if they would like to wear masks, we will support that decision. But right now, we're not requiring them.
Thank you, Mr. Hockman. Mr. Amico? You're all set? Anybody else wish to speak on this subject? Okay.
Thank you, Mrs. Carpenter. My final slide tonight is just a little bit on the end of the fiscal year. We will have another update at the next meeting as well. So as you know, the summer payroll goes through into August, and so once that is finally closed out and all of those payments are made, we will be able to officially close the end of the fiscal year. But as you recall, many moons ago, we approved an FY21 budget. This body approved $74,854,358. And one of the tasks I pledged to this committee is that we appreciated the committee and the city council appropriating that money, especially when the state hadn't come out with an official budget yet. It was a leap of faith, and I appreciated that. And I did say that, we will be fiscally responsible. We owe that to our citizens to come in under budget and make sure that we're not going to the city council again asking for an additional appropriation. Fiscal responsibility is an essential part of our success, building the trust, and really working within the budgets that we have. And so overall this year, we anticipate spending about 99.5% of our budget, which is really good budgeting, and this will leave us with approximately $400,000 surplus. The line items that we identified that will have a little bit of a surplus, and it makes a lot of sense. Substitutes, when we came back full-time, we used less substitutes, but we did budget appropriately, so we have a little bit of a line item in the area of substitutes. Transportation, we had worked out a deal with the transportation company when we were attending school in person 4 days a week versus 5 to have a little bit of a reduction there. We didn't have as many student activities, including our extracurriculars at the middle school and things like that, so there's a little bit of a surplus there. And our out-of-district tuition was budgeted well. We received a little bit more in circuit breaker reimbursement this year, so thank you to the government for doing that, and we appreciate the legislator really fully funding that. And so overall, we anticipate coming in around 400,000 under. So one of the options is to prepay special education costs as We're allowed to do that 3 months in advance, and, if one student moves in that we did not account for, we are responsible for that money, so that is always fiscally sound. So right now, this is about where we're anticipating. I did want to give everyone an update on that. We have Mr. Scanlon here as well. We can answer any questions. We do anticipate once summer payroll is completed and all of the payments that go out for health insurance and things like that, we'll have an official figure that we can bring to this body and ultimately to the city.
Thank you, Dr. Vidala. Any comments or questions on the end of fiscal year? Mr. Olympio?
Just bravo. I want to take a screenshot and, wow, that really makes me happy. Job.
Thank you, Mr. Olympio. Anyone else? No? Okay.
That concludes the superintendent's report. I know we went out of order, so the continued business that
Yep.
Mrs. Dunn has.
Mrs. Dunn, would you like to go to continued business?
Thank you. The Welch School project normally has an owners, architects, and construction management personnel meeting every week. And for the summer, we have been meeting every other week, just because they are doing so many drawings and reports in preparation of the schematic design. When the schematic design for the school is ready to be finalized, we are going to have a meeting. So save the date. It will be a joint meeting with the Welch School Building Committee and the school committee, and I'm going to invite the city council to attend as a guest. And at that meeting, you'll be able to see the entire presentation by the designers, the OPM, and the construction management team, explaining exactly what they're proposing and what it would cost. At that meeting, the school building committee will take a vote on whether or not to submit that schematic design. And the school committee will also be required to take a vote on whether they, too, would like that to be submitted to the MSBA. We're under a deadline of turning it in August. They will not render a decision until around November. What they do at the MSBA level is they go through that entire proposal, and they go line by line on every single thing in that project to make sure that it is necessary, that it's appropriate, and that the funding is appropriate. So they look at it really very, very deeply, and then hopefully we will get approved in November, and then that would allow us to move forward with further steps on the project. But right now, what they're doing is just consolidating all of the materials. You've seen some of it if you've watched our community meetings. It is available online on the website we have, which is on the school website, and it's a link to the project website. And it's really coming along, and it's very interesting, the input that they're taking from staff and from members of the committee, and they really are listening, and they're putting those things into the plans for the Welch to make it the best possible project available. So I think you'll like what's coming. It really is amazing to see the things that they have thought of, that they're going to put into that building that will really improve our ability to provide an education for the students for the next close to 50 years. It's really very forward-looking, and they have a lot of really nice touches. I mean, from the discussion on what to use outside of the building to improve the way it looks and the way it reacts to the weather, right on into the inside of the building. What would work for classrooms, what will work for the students, where to place things. It's great, and they're working very hard on energy efficiency so that hopefully we're going to be able to have a LEED certified building, which is very unusual. You normally do not get that in a renovated building. This may be a first for a renovated building to be LEED certified. So they were explaining it. The architects can tell you better than I can, but it's quite positive, and I think MSBA will be really pleased with that, as will the people of Peabody, because it will save a lot of energy. So, always, if you have any questions, please feel free, but please save the date, August 12th. It's going to be either at 6 or 7, and it will be either here or at the Welch. So the only definite thing right now is the date. Sorry, we're working on the details.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. I appreciate your time on this project. Is there any questions from Mrs. Dunn? Being none. Okay, we're going to move on to public participation. Do we have anyone, Dr. Vidala?
So we do have someone here, so you can please come up and state your name and address, and you can address the committee. If there is anyone who is online in our attendees, you may raise your hand, and we'll bring you in after our first in-person public participation.
You just need to press the button, and then it'll turn red, and you can leave it that way. And when this is red, you're on.
Oh, press the wrong one. Good evening. Thank you for having me here, Superintendent Vidala and members of the school committee. My name is Mary Rogers. I've been in Peabody for 14 years. This is my first time contacting you, coming to speak, or anything like that. And I want to speak about the part-time VOTEC program and the VOTEC program in general. There were 180 posts on Facebook all wanting more VOTEC, not less. I wrote you a letter and explained how you could, it's in Pride and Peabody website, and if you type in superintendent, you'll get 2 blocks of a lot of comments. And I hope if you haven't already read them that you'll take a look at them. I don't have kids. I care about them. I do criminal defense work. I've been an attorney for over 30 years. And many of my clients could have done well if they had gotten into a VOTEC program when they were in high school. You know, I kind of want to advocate have it in prison. Do you want to wait till that long to have the VOTEC programs? I don't think so. So I was thrilled about the part-time program because I've done my homework and research, and I watched all the videos on the VOTEC site, which were fantastic. But half the kids don't get in that want to get into the full-time program. So the part-time program, you take those kids that didn't want to get in, you sit down with them one-on-one and say, hey, we got this part-time program. Would you like to go? It will help you get in the following year full-time. You want to do it. And I want to tell you a little bit of a story. I have a nephew, and this answers the question as to why is the part-time program different? He didn't know whether he wanted to go to VOTEC or not. He was in high school. He had good friends. And he didn't know if he wanted to go. So he stayed in the high school for a year, and then he thought long and hard and decided to go to the VOTEC. And it was the right move for him. And he's excelled. While he was in the VOTEC, he put money in his pocket. He learned about what money is. He saved. He began saving that young. And then he became a plumber. And then he got his master's, and we got that. He got a big jump in pay. And then in his 30s, he owned a house. And now he has his own business, and he's not even reached 40. He's a plumber. But I was thrilled to see all the different programs that the VOTEC has. It's not just building. It's not just plumber. It's not just electrician. They have dental assistants. They have a whole veterinarian hospital where they can learn. They have engineering of all different kinds, graphic design, auto mechanic, auto body. And one of the things I noticed was the kids go in with one idea about what they want to do, and they're able to jump between different areas of learning, and they find they like something else. There was one woman in particular that really stood out to me that happened to her, and I can't remember what she ended up choosing, but you wouldn't have guessed it from the beginning. There's not enough in the building try to get a plumber or somebody to do any substantial amount of work. It's difficult. And, you know, with the pandemic, it's just opened up more job opportunities. You know, kids go to college and they come out with $150,000 or more in debt. They're stuck in their parents' basement, perhaps, at the age of 30. One thing that impressed me about the tech school was 70% go on to a 2- or 4-year college. That's pretty impressive. And I had the pleasure of speaking with Chris Ryder this week, and he told me that Peabody has, I forget if it was 80 or 90% go to college, a very high number as well, which is very impressive. And it's the right move for some kids, but it's not the right move for every kid. And you have kids with special ed, you got kids, foster care, they have to live in Peabody, right? Homelessness, and you have kids that get into trouble with the law. This is a better avenue for them, trust me. I've represented them for 30 years, I know. So I'm really thrilled that Peabody's got good CTE programs already, and you're going to expand. The idea of protective services is a good one, but I think you're missing the whole other side of criminal justice, the side I work on. And there's more complexities to it than just one side, or even the middle, or even the other side. You mentioned, I think you're thinking about children and protective service from DSS. And I have friends that do that kind of work. You have several different complexities to that. There's adoption, there's keeping the kid in the family, there's giving them services. It's a whole complex area. And if you want, I'd be happy to hook you up with people to come in and speak. And if you want, I would be happy to give you the other side of the criminal justice world and help you bring some of that in, either by speakers or whatever. I'd be happy to do that for you. And that's great, but there's more avenues than just law enforcement or DSS or, you know, it's great to think about the court personnel too. And so I think that's about everything I wanted to say, and I appreciate the opportunity. But I think key is what my nephew told me. I sat him down and I said, tell me, what can I convey that's different? And that's what he said. He needed that transition time. And so for kids in the 8th, 9th grade, whatever is their first year there, they get to transition. They have their old friends, they keep them, they get new friends. He knows people, he's on the Cape, he knows people in all different towns on the Cape personally. So they're able to trade trades. They're able to say, you know, it just opens up a bigger world to them. And it's great. Peabody has good programs, but the VOTEC has more, and the kids can transition between them too, which is a real plus. So can I make a challenge? Get 10 more kids in the part-time program this year. Maybe shoot for 40 the following year. Talk to every single kid that didn't get in the VOTEC. Offer it to them. As Mrs. Dunn said, $5,500 a year. I think there's people that would reach in their pocket and give you that change. You know, $29,000 for the whole thing. That's one person's salary, and perhaps just half of one or half of what one of these people. You could probably get somebody to give you that money if you need it. But I saw $400,000 in the budget, so you got the room for the 5,500 times 10 to pay for it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rogers. We don't typically comment back or go back and forth. I just want to thank you for your offer of assistance, your insight, and feel free to reach out to Dr. Vidala to maybe to make some of those connections, and I appreciate
Sure.
the time that you took.
Sure.
Thank you.
I can, well, you already have my information, but I'd be happy to, yeah, whoever, it's Dr. Vidala to
Yes.
talk about it?
Yep.
Okay, sure. We can make
Thank
an
you.
appointment perhaps.
Yes,
Okay.
Thank you for your
Anything
time.
else? Thank you very much.
thank you. Dr. Vidala, do we have anyone else that would like to speak?
Nope, no one at this time.
Okay, moving on. The next item is written communications. In your packet, there is a communication from the Peabody City Council regarding the PVMHS and Center School SOIs. We also have communication from Dr. Vidala regarding the CTE After Dark program, rather the CTE expansion program, which we've already been briefed on.
Motion to receive.
All in favor? Those are accepted. Any comments on written communications? No. We're going to move into subcommittee reports, and we will start with the Education Subcommittee.
Nothing to
Mr.
report-
Amico.
You don't have your little cheat sheet?
No.
Nothing to report at this time.
Thank you. Finance Subcommittee, that is me, and I have nothing to report. I knew that one. School Safety Committee,
Nothing new
Mr.
to
Olympio.
report.
Nothing to report. Athletics and Wellness, Mr. Arnottis.
Thank you. Very briefly, I know we introduced our new athletics director tonight. Thrilled for him to be joining us. And I believe some of my colleagues have already touched on it briefly, but just our expansion and our ability to bring the focus to middle school athletics back to the city of Peabody. I think that's something that is very important for us to start exploring as we get into the upcoming school year. I certainly want to give this opportunity to my colleagues if they have any comments on this point for the Athletics and Wellness Subcommittee, but I can tell you, this is certainly something for my next meeting of the subcommittee we'll put on the agenda, and perhaps we can invite the new AD to join us to begin these conversations, but I just wanted to open that opportunity if anyone here wanted to touch on that as well before we continue further.
Mr. Hockman?
Thank you, Ms. Carpenter, through you to Mr. Arnottis. Time is going to fly by. We're going to have the beginning of school come in a blink of an eye, and I'd really like to see some middle school athletic programs started this fall, and that's typically when we play baseball and softball, track. I think there's still a cross-country team. I would talk to Dr. Vidala a little bit earlier about perhaps instituting a track program here as well. So if we could, if your schedule allows, and we could perhaps meet prior to the August 3rd school committee meeting, invite the new athletic director, maybe talk to Mr. Busey perhaps, because there is some lead time that we're going to need in terms of scheduling, seeing who's interested in participating. There's always transportation issues and things like that. So if that's all right with you, I'd like to see that on an agenda for an August 3rd meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Hockman. Mr. Amico?
Through the chair, just to the committee, and thank you, Mr. Arnottis and Mr. Hockman. I agree. I think it's time that we bring back athletics to the middle school. Again, it's such a great feeder system to our high school. We saw a great student athlete earlier tonight who kind of went through a feeder program with soccer and the girls lacrosse team, and basically that whole team ended up at the high school, and they were very successful as students and athletes. What I want to do is propose something for not this coming year, but to talk about next year during budget season. I really think this is something that we should really take a look at. When we were talking about COVID, we were talking about lost instruction. We were talking about social emotional needs of our students and mental health. And one of the other things that we really saw was a loss of participation in athletics. Kids were stuck at home. We were all stuck at home. And I think one of the main reasons why we were able to transition from being at home and getting into back to school is a lot of the parents who were sports parents really wanted their kids back on the field and on the courts, and they were big advocates of getting this back. And it really showed how important athletics are to the city. I always knew it. I think we all know it. But what I want to propose is that we really delve in, maybe through your subcommittee, Mr. Arnottis, or through the whole committee, is start to look at the potential of hiring an assistant athletic director. Obviously, it wouldn't happen this year, but for next year. And I think there's just so much on the plate of the athletic director who we just hired, and in general, all athletic directors. It's such an important role because it goes into so many different roles. You have the athletic director piece, which is the athletics. Then you have the health and wellness, and you have obviously the supervision of teachers and staff. But I'm thinking and one of the reasons why I'm bringing this up is I see that Danvers has an assistant athletic director. And they're a lot smaller than us, and we're bigger and better than Danvers, so if they have two, we can have an extra one as far as I'm concerned. But no, seriously, I just think of maybe in whatever central office or Dr. Vidala thinks of that role, but I think, someone who could really get to our middle school kids, someone who might have the knowledge in the equity piece, diversity. We're gonna have gender, situations come up in the near future. Title IX has always been something that's been out there and continues to be out there. So I just think that maybe, as a board, we really put our money where our mouth is and look at next year of posting a position and hiring someone that can address those issues and really assist the new athletic director. And the other piece is recruiting. How great would it be to have someone here at the Higgins or wherever it is, but definitely, meet with 7th and 8th graders and just say, hey, we have a great school up here. We have a great comprehensive high school up there where you could also play sports. So that's just my vision for next year, and I'm gonna keep pushing it until it happens. So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Miko. I wanted to add to this. In regards to the Higgins athletic programs, I think one of the things I'd like to see is a complete list of what we currently offer. And I think we also have a lot of programs, athletic programs, that operate as, they're sometimes called Higgins programs, but they're not fully supported by us. And I think we need to get a complete list of those so that we can put them in the right lane. They're wonderful programs, they're successful programs, and they need to be supported by us. So I think we have all of the sports already. We just need to bring them into where they belong. The other thing I'd like to touch upon and talk to Mr. D about, or have Dr. Vidala touch base with him about, is this board previously discussed middle school waivers for the high school. So one of the things that I'm a little worried about with this coming school year is we need to make sure we feed and support our current high school programs, which is going to include our middle schoolers for different sports. We're lacking in attendance in some sports, and we're going to need them, or we're going to lose our high school sports. So it's going to be, I think, a bit of a step process getting all of these programs in place. So I would like to touch base, Dr. Vidala, if you want to talk to Mr. D and see where we're going to need those middle school waivers. We did approve a blanket, you need a waiver, you can get it, and he was not the AD at that time. So I just want to make sure we don't lose any of our high school programs at this point and start getting into our middle school programs as well. So if we could do that and flesh out those current sports that we have and may not be supported by us, which we should support. And I do agree with your proposal on the assistant. I have a few people in mind. I remember when my kids went through the high school during gym class, and certain teachers would promote different sports, and that led my kids right to the high school to play that sport. So I can see where that feeder would go. So thank you. I just took my turn to talk. Anyone else? Mrs. Dunn?
Thank you. No, you said exactly what I was going to, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Hockman?
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Carpenter. And I just want to put a little caution on it. I mean, for one of the programs you're talking about is the basketball program, which everyone calls Higgins basketball, but it's actually Peabody Basketball Travel Association. But the important thing with that program is that they wear Higgins, right? They identify as a Higgins team. And I'm okay with outside organizations who are going to provide the supports and the resources for our kids to participate, as long as our kids represent Peabody. There are other programs out there for other sports where they don't wear the Higgins word across their chests or Peabody on their chests. They wear other names. And those programs, I'm not necessarily, I'm happy that they exist and they give kids opportunities, but that's different than playing for your city. And we talked about this when we talk about baseball helmets at the high school. If you're playing for your city, you should identify as a Peabody player, whatever the organization is. We can work on that. We can work with other organizations to get that resolved. And just in closing, I don't know where else to put this in this meeting. Both Peabody West Little League and Peabody Little League experienced a huge amount of success and achievement for almost every level. I mean, there were district championships for the 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds, and Peabody West beat Peabody, we used to call it American and National, we'll call it James Street now, in 2 thrilling games. One where Peabody West advanced to the finals, and then in the finals, Peabody West won that game also. But there were 2 incredibly well-played games by a bunch of talented young student athletes who are here at the Higgins. And it would really be nice if they stayed together. They all play in other organizations, and they seem to take a priority for that, and I don't necessarily understand why that is, and maybe we need a sports psychologist to come on as well, Mr. Amico. But boy, it would be nice to have those kids transition from the Little League diamond to a big diamond with a Higgins hat on their head and a Higgins uniform on their backs. So anyway, I just wanted to congratulate both John Horgan, president of Peabody West Little League, and Christy DiLoretto, president of James Street Downtown Peabody Little League, for all the incredible work that they've done, their boards, their coaches, their parents, their student athletes, and wish them much success in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Hockman. Mr. Arnottis.
Sure. Well, I'm so happy we just had this nice mini athletic subcommittee meeting here tonight. And I'm happy to book a full one, if we can, at 6 p.m. on the 3rd. I don't know if anyone else has anything scheduled for that night, but if we can get an hour in, I think we have more than enough to cover in that hour. Dr. Vidala, if you are available, we'd love to have you along with our AD. And is something else going on that night? All right, we'll do 6. We'll break it up. And then if you could just provide the information that Mrs. Carpenter has requested, and then perhaps anything else that might be relevant, and I'll send a brief agenda to Marge for that meeting. And also wishing Heather McLean the best of luck as the Olympics begin on Friday. I think we've spoken about Heather in the past, but she's an incredible athlete, and she's even more so an incredible person. And we're wishing her the best and hope she represents us well in Tokyo, as I think we all know she will. So best of luck to her.
And that concludes your Athletic and Wellness Subcommittee meeting? Thank you, Mr. Arnottis. Quality and Standards, Mrs. Dunn.
Thank you. Nothing to report this time.
Thank you. Liaison to Parent and Student Advisory Boards, Mrs. Dunn.
Nothing to report this night.
Okay. Building and Grounds Subcommittee.
Thank you, Ms. Carpenter. We're throwing things up in the air, and where they land, they land. Before I go into the Building and Grounds Subcommittee report, I think we've been a little remiss in not welcoming Dr. Chase. I believe this is your first school committee meeting with us as our new assistant superintendent. So welcome, and thank you for being here tonight, and look forward to many years ahead of working together. In regard to building and grounds, I want to, through you, thank Mr. Scanlon and Dr. Vidala. At the last school committee meeting, I had asked about an update on or report on the condition of playgrounds at the elementary schools, and I believe Mr. Scanlon surveyed all of the 8 elementary school principals and determined, based upon that survey, that there are really 2 elementary schools that have some significant needs in regard to playgrounds, that being the Carroll School and the McCarthy School. So I think we're going to focus on those 2 schools for now and keep that conversation open between principals and Mr. Scanlon moving forward. And from what I understand in speaking with Dr. Vidala, the mayor has either is working on or has secured some capital funds to work with the Carroll School and the McCarthy School for the improvements that they need to each of their playgrounds. So I would ask that I don't know if it's going to be Mr. Scanlon that stays with this or back to Dr. Vidala, but if you can, perhaps, maybe Mr. Scanlon would be better suited. Work with maybe Mike Ingris or someone, or Dan Doucette over at City Hall to price out what it is that the principals believe that they need to make those playgrounds safe and usable so that we can keep this process moving and perhaps have some work done as early as this fall. Stay aggressive with this if possible.
Thank you. Yeah, just a quick comment. What we did is we had given them a survey, which was a 10-point survey from the OSHA inspections of playgrounds. And I just gave them a simple rating scale, 1 to 3, and that way if everybody, got a 1, you were 10. All your playgrounds are good. So these two schools had some very high scores, which means that they're not meeting OSHA standards. So it is important that we take a look at them, so hopefully some funding will be available to address those.
And Mr. Scanlon, if, through the chair to you, if perhaps you can, I don't know if August 3rd will be a sufficient amount of time for you to perhaps report back on if funding is available. Maybe it's at our later August meeting. But if you can report back about funding, because if funding is not available through capital improvements that the city council has allotted, I would ask that we go to CPC to see if there's funding available there. But let's take it one step at a time, but I'd like to stay on this. I know in touring the Carroll School that there are some significant safety issues. So I'm concerned, very, very concerned about that. And your survey, the results of your survey, at least for the Carroll School, show that. So let's just stay on top of this if we can. Thank you. I think that there's Mr. Amico.
Mr. Amico, yeah.
Thank you, through the chair. And maybe this could be put through Mr. Arnottis' subcommittee as well, liaison to city council. I know I'm giving you all this work, but it just came to me in that there was a block party, okay, right across the street from the center school. And I don't know if it was a block party, I don't know if I really have an issue with permits being given for block parties right next door to our buildings, school buildings. There were a lot of fireworks shot off on the 4th of July, the 3rd and 4th of July, in and around the center school neighborhood, right at the center school. There was some damage done to the lawn at the center school. These weren't bottle rockets, these weren't firecrackers, these were high-capacity fireworks. I could hear them from my house a block and a half away from 12 midnight to 2 a.m. I just think that whoever's putting out those permits, let's just take a little bit more caution, because if one of those high-capacity fireworks hits the building, lands on the roof, we can talk to our business manager on what a roof replacement costs. So I just think that if we can have some correspondence to our city council, or whoever gives out those permits, especially near our school grounds, I'd like that to happen. I want everyone to have a happy and safe time, and block parties are fun, but I don't know if it happened during the block party, but it happened. And it came awfully close to our building, and it came awfully close to the fairly new roof that we just put on the center a couple of years ago. So that's all I ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Amico. Mr. Arnottis?
Sure, that committee might be next as we are going through the run here.
After special education.
Okay, I will reserve.
But we can skip it and go to yours.
Thank you, Mr. Arnottis.
Well, it's a very busy committee, so I just want to focus
Go
on
right
that.
ahead. We will take it out of order for you.
Thank you, please do. No, I actually think you are correct. I could be wrong about that, but I'm almost positive it is a city council motion or vote that they have to do to approve block parties in some capacity. So I'm more than happy to reach out and see, what we can do if it's raising the threshold or some sort of protection so people aren't, committing something that could be dangerous near our building. So I'm more than happy to chat with them about that and see what we can do. Thanks.
Just a point of clarification, Mr. Amico. Are you, your information is that there was a permit issued for a block party in front of the center school? That is a fact?
I believe, what's going I believe there was a permit.
Okay, so I would imagine if there was a permit issued and there was damage done, there's a name that can be connected.
And again, the reason why I can't say that it was the person who had the block party, there's really no proof there.
Okay.
But in the future,
Yep.
if there are going to be block parties near our buildings that we oversee, I would like to see a little bit more due diligence on the city's part.
Understood, thank you. Mr. Hockman?
Thank you. This has been a wild committee report. But, you know, Ms. Carpenter, please invite Mr. Amico to your parties in the future so that we don't. I just have two last quick items that have kind of been lingering, and I'd like to get them into a subcommittee meeting either for August 24th, which I think is our meeting after August 3rd, or September 14th. We can figure that out. One is we're in the last year of the 5-year lease for the Lowell Street Administration Building. I've already expressed displeasure with that and don't intend to support renewal of that lease. So it's going to take some time to either find new space or talk about finding new space. And I may be in the minority on this, so we work together and we talk about issues, but I'd like to put that in subcommittee. And then the other thing is the Kiley Building. The Kiley Building is lingering for years and years and years. It's deteriorating. We now have a new director of early childhood and kindergarten. We've talked about an early childhood center, perhaps. We've gotten some quotes recently about repairing that building to the point where it's usable. I'd like to see us do something, particularly with the ZBA's seems to be passion for issuing 40B permits, and I don't want to see, we might need the Kiley. I'll talk about redistricting in the next subcommittee report that I make tonight, but we may need the Kiley just to support all the students that may be coming to Peabody as a result of ZBA permits, 40B permits that are issuing without, I could talk about that for a long time too. But those two items I will put into subcommittee, and we'll schedule a meeting either for late August or early September.
Mr. Hockman, just to clarify, you want Kiley in central office in subcommittee or full committee for next agenda?
I think subcommittee first.
Okay.
But I mean, I would expect that they're going to go through fairly quickly. I think we're going to need more time with central office because if we're going to explore other opportunities or possibilities, we're going to need to find other locations that might be suitable. I don't know, I expect to talk about the high school potentially as being a place where there's some space. I'd like it to be in a municipal building where we're not paying $95,000 a year. I'd rather pay for an assistant athletic director or a sports psychologist or someone else that'll have a greater impact on student services and achievement.
Okay, thank you. Did you have anything else for liaison? Because I'm out of order now. No, yeah. Moving on, Special Education Parent Advisory Board, Mr. Olympio.
Boy, I feel there's nothing new to report. I can't keep up with you guys. I'm going to have to start thinking of stuff.
Redistricting Committee, Mr. Hockman.
Yeah, thank you. We've kind of taken some time off for the summer. People have been working pretty hard in this subcommittee. I did talk to Dr. Dollar earlier to update him on some of the stuff that's going on and explore some opportunities and options. I would expect that we're going to have a full report with a whole host of options to present to the committee, the school committee as a whole by early November.
Thank you. Any new business? Being none, items for next agenda, you can email in. And thank you for a very productive summer meeting. Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
So moved. Good night.